Hey guys, welcome back. Ricky here. Okay, so we've got the next installment of the best of 2018, and today we are talking about whetstones. I've got the ultra coarse whetstone. So the ultra coarse running from 150 grit or 120 grit all the way up to about 200 grit. This is what I use for fixing chips, small chips, medium chips, and even large chips. There are others that I have tested, but these I think are the best stones that I've used. And if you guys want to see my comprehensive list from 2017, you can go to this video here or in the video description, which I'll post below. And you guys can see kind of a longer form of these stones and all the stones I used in 2017. All right, so the first stone here is really not a true 150 grit stone. This here is by Debarro. This is the Gokumyo Debarro 2000 and 150. So all of their Debarro Gokumyo line has a dual stone. It has the main stone that you sharpen on plus a 150 grit stone. So Suhero makes a pretty interesting 150 grit stone. It's very large, as you can tell. This is one of the largest stones I have in my collection. It's a great 150 grit stone. Now I do hope that Suhero actually sells this by itself. So overall, a really good stone, fast cutting. What you have to understand about ultra coarse stones is that they all wear relatively fast compared to even the same lineup of stones in the same brand on the higher grit lineups. When I found that this stone here, or that the Gokumyo line offer the 150 on the dual side or on the back side of all their stones, this was actually a really good deal because you have a really fantastic sharpening stone on one side and a great repairing stone on the other. But again, if you guys can't find the 150, there are other options which I'll go through right here. I'll read some numbers for you guys. Suhero does a really weird thing with their lettering and SKUs. This is the MD-20 or the MD-20. And then they also have another series called the LD. And it'll say LD-110, LD-101. So their naming system definitely really stinks. If you guys want to see the actual stones, I'll leave them linked in the video description so that you guys don't get confused with LD, MD, and the different numbers that they have. It's just a really weird numbering system that they have. I don't know why. This is the MD-20, which is a 200 grit stone. As a 200 grit stone, it really stands alone in terms of being in that grit range. Most manufacturers will be in the 120, 150, and then they jump to 320. And so very few stone manufacturers will make a 200 grit stone. As a stone, this is the largest 200 grit stone I have ever used and currently own. Every splash and go will absorb some water, and the lower the grit you go, the more water they will absorb. But in terms of raw performance, a very fast cutting stone. It will cut just as fast as any 120 or 150 grit stone out there. In terms of wear, I think it wears maybe a little bit faster than the 150 grit stones. Not a whole lot. You'll see a little bit more slower developing as they're sharpening. Very good tactile feedback. I mean, very snappy feel. I want to say the prices on these stones start around $70. So they tend to be on the higher side, but you are getting a lot more stone than any other manufacturers out there. Shapton, Naniwa, and King, none of them make a stone this size. Every manufacturer will kind of pick their own thing and try to be a little bit different. But in terms of Suhero, they offer you a very large stone. Definitely the largest stones you'll find with any manufacturer. And the 200 Debarro is a really nice stone. So I like this stone a lot. Definitely on my recommended list. So next stone we have here is the Shapton Pro 120. Very good stone. And up until this point, I think that this stone here, in terms of value for your money, was the best stone out there. You can find it anywhere between $40 to $50. So depending on when the season you buy it, prices will vary a little bit. It is very fast wearing. So in terms of all the stones here, I think this is the fastest wearing stone. I've done a number of repairs on this stone here, and when you're sharpening a very damaged knife or a very dull knife, you'll notice that you'll hear a lot of popping noises as you're sharpening on these stones, or on this particular stone here. That's essentially just the particulates coming off of the stone, and you're grinding that particulate down. So of all the stones here, this is definitely the loudest stone, and it has more to do with just you hearing those sediments come off, and you just have that grinding, popping noise as you're sharpening. So it's a little jarring at first. You have to kind of get used to it, but after a couple of knives, you will understand that it's nothing to worry about. It's just literally the sediments are coming off, and you are grinding those sediments and those particulates down. This here is a Shapton Glass 120. If you guys watched my original video of this kind of review, the Shapton Glass 120, I have always thought it was a little bit too fine to be in this category. I've always felt that the 120 was a really nice feeling stone. The tactile feedback, hand feel, it feels really nice. It feels very luxurious, very just too smooth for my taste, but as a sharpening stone by itself, it's a really nice feeling stone, but I don't find it appropriate as a fixing stone, at least not compared to some of the other options that we've got here. Overall, it's a decent stone if you want to have a Shapton Glass 120. It is a slower wearing stone though, so just keep that in mind. It's actually a very slow wearing stone, probably the slowest wearing stone of the bunch that I've got here. But in terms of raw performance, it just doesn't cut as fast as the other stones I've got here. So I hate to say it, but I don't recommend the 120 as a pure repairing stone. Okay, so this is the Shapton Glass 220. Now the reason I brought the 220 out is because I did have a chance to do a few repairs on it. And I have to say, I'm really surprised with how the 220 performed relative to the 120. And it's gonna sound really strange. The 220 stone, I find that actually it's actually a faster cutting stone than the 120. They feel really close. They have a really nice feel to them. I have to say that Shapton Glass, or just Shapton in general, do a really good job with formulating their stones. They're all splash and goes. I don't think there are any Shapton stones that are soaking stones, at least that I use. So all their stones are splash and goes, which is nice. They've got that formula down and they've got that market kind of pretty well pinned. This stone's very flat, very true out of the box. You don't need to flatten these stones pretty much at all for a very long time. In terms of raw performance, I think it's a really good stone. Again though, if you're talking about raw speed, it doesn't have the same raw cutting speed as the Debarro stone. And as a standalone stone, I think it's actually a really good stone. If you weren't trying to compare these stones side by side and you just wanted a good 220, cutting stone, this stone does a really good job. So between these stones, which one would I recommend? If you want the absolute fastest cutting stone, regardless of price and wear, the Debarro MD20 is going to be that stone. It's the fastest cutting stone that I have used in this bunch here, and even compared to the other stones that I've used last year. And so if you want just raw performance, speed, and just the fastest stone to cut down, damaged knives, the 200 or the MD20 Debarro is going to be that stone. The slowest wearing stone are the Shapton Glass stones, but again, wear is not something I have to worry about too much because these stones here I only use maybe 2 to 3 times a year anyways. I use them more often than, let's say, average people because I do a lot of repairs in my shop and a lot of sharpening. But I think most people aren't going to be using their sub 300 to 400 grit stones very often. I think most people once your knives are sharp and as long as you don't abuse them, you probably don't use these stones here more than 2 to 3 times a year. So that's why I always recommend people don't spend a lot of money on your ultra low coarse stones because you don't use them very often. And the point of those stones anyways is to just essentially to be a sacrificing stone to repair your knives with. Yeah, so it kind of leaves an interesting space between the Shapton Pro 120 and the Suhero 150. I wouldn't buy the 150 if it came with another, let's say the 2000 grit stone, for example, if you didn't need a 2000 grit stone. So if the 150 standalone by itself, if you can find that, it's a good stone. And between this and the Shapton Pro 120, in terms of overall performance, they are almost identical. So they feel the same to the touch. I would say that the wear on the 150 is a little bit slower than the 120 Shapton Pro. But in terms of actual performance, they feel very, very close. So with your eyes closed, I don't know if they'll feel any difference. But in terms of actual wear, I think the 150 Debarro is slower than the Shapton Pro 120. So some people have commented that they want every single thing in one long video, like what I did in 2017, where all my knives were done in one video and all my whetstones were done in one video, where you only had 2 videos to watch, but they're all I think they're over an hour each. If you guys prefer that format, let me know in the comments. But if you guys prefer this format where it's more like 10 to 12 minutes, where I break down a couple of different grit categories and a couple of different knife categories, give the video a thumbs up, let me know that, and that way I can make more videos like this for the rest of the year. If you guys have never seen my video about kind of whetstone basics and what grits to choose, click on the link below or in this window here. It will break down at least what I think whetstone grits are and what to choose for what type of purposes, when to use them. For everyone who's getting into sharpening and you are really confused about whetstone grits it hopefully will clear some of the issues and confusion you have about how to choose your whetstone grit and which is best for you. I know it's very confusing to hear these names, Choceras, like how do you spell Chocera, how do you spell Naniwa, how do you spell, Suhero, and so people have a very hard time with these names that I throw out. So I will leave a link in the video description to where you can find all of these stones for sale and the exact stones as well. Alright, well that'll be it for this video. Thank you guys for being here. Give the video a thumbs up if you guys liked it, subscribe if you loved it, and I'll catch you in the next one.